Hey guys, welcome back to the vlog. Thanks for joining us today. As you can see, Zeus is all tuckered out from his W-A-L-K. If I say that word, he'll get all excited. Anyway, we're gonna be at Capital Casino. He knows how to spell. We're gonna be at Capital Casino, playing in the 1-3 game, buying for $500. So sit back, relax, enjoy. Here it comes. Been playing for about an hour. Haven't really had too much to play, but we got a player on the button who's been opening a little bit too wide, I believe. Either that or he's just been on a mad rush of good cards. So this time when he opens for a raise, I decided to 3-bet with 7-8. I'm just going to play the player and not too worried about my actual cards. I figured most of the time he will fold, and if he doesn't, then maybe I can take it away on the flop or the turn. It's folded back around to him, and he thinks for a while before finally putting in the call. So we're going to go heads up to this flop, and I'm out of position with a rag hand, and the flop comes ace, king, 7 with 2 clubs. It's quite possible my opponent has a ace in his hand, and maybe not a very strong kicker, but more likely he's probably having some medium-sized pocket pairs, say like 9s, 10s, maybe even jacks. So on ace-high flop, it's good for my range. Not very good for my particular hand. I'm just going to c-bet $40, hoping that he doesn't call. If he does, I still have outs to a 7 or an 8, and hopefully he'll just let it go. He does, and he did say he had a pocket pair later on. Feeling a little frisky with queen-jack offsuit from the button after several limpers slipped in, I make it 20. End up getting a couple of callers for the 20, and we're going to head off to a flop with $84 in the pot. Flop comes out, king 10-6 rainbow. Pretty good flop for my particular hand. All 3 players check it over to me. I'm going to continue with a c-bet for $30. It's not so much that I really love my hand at this point. I definitely want to get some more money in the pot in case I make something, and we can build a big one. I end up getting 2 players that put in the call. So the pot's growing, and we're going to head off to the turn with $174 in the center. Turn card comes as the perfect card of an ace of diamonds. I make the nuts. Both players check to me. I decided that I was going to bet about half pot, so I make it $80. Looking back on this, I can probably go a little bit smaller, but I really don't think either one of them had very much, and they both quickly fold. All right, there's a player to my left who limps in with a very short stack, and then a very aggressive player from the low jack puts in a raise to $18. I have ace king in the big blind. Normally, I just go ahead and 3-bet this and try to build a big pot, but on the rare occasion, like now, I decided just to put in the call and see if I can get this player who plays very aggressive to overplay his hand. Flop comes ace high, which is wonderful. I check it. It gets checked around to him, and he bets $45. I make the quick call. The other player folds out. Turn card come is a 7. Again, I'm going to let him take the lead. I check it over to him. He thinks for a while. And he slides out $80. Here, I would normally check raise, but I want this player to know that I'm capable of just calling with top pair, top kicker. So after some thought, I decided to put it in the call. I may not be getting full value out of this hand, but in the metagame, he's going to remember this play. River card comes is a 4 of spades. Again, normally I would fire out, but I check it to him again. He checks back. I show him the ace king, and he quickly mucks. I ended up leaving shortly after this hand. I was getting a headache, and I had one of those players sitting next to me who rattles his chips constantly. So I came back 4 days later, and here we go. Been playing for about an hour. Nothing too exciting has happened. I'm up about $50 at this point. The player to my right limps in. I raise to $15. I get a call from the player in the small blind and the original limper. So we're going to end up going 3 ways to this flop with $46 in the pot. Flop comes out Jack 10 7 rainbow. So it's a pretty good flop. We have an overpair. The player who limped in leads right out for $15. I played a lot with them. They probably have something like an ace jack type of hand, or perhaps a hand like king queen. I put in a raise to 50. The other player folds out, and the original limper in the +1 position puts in the call. Turn card comes is a 7 of spades. Very good card for my hand. Now if they had Jack 10, I have them beat. They check again. I'm trying to get value out of a hand like King Jack, Ace Jack. So I make it $90. I figured they would call 90. I don't know whether they'll call anything bigger than that. And they think for a while, and then they decided to make the call. Now, I have a strong feeling they have a hand like Ace Jack at this point. They check in the dark, and I'm going to be firing everything. But when the river card comes as a 9 of diamonds and makes that King Queen straight, I decided to check it back. I think it's a mistake. I'm double blocking King Queen. I really should just fire for value again. And sure enough, they did have Ace Jack. So I think I lost a little value on the end. Probably could have got another bet. I'm in the big blind, and there's 2 limpers on my left side. Player raises to $10. It comes back around to me. I was thinking about raising, but then I saw the player who first originally limped looked like he was interested in raising, so I just called. He's the type of player that will limp re-raise with big hands. He only made it 25, which was a really good deal, but he still might have something like queens, kings, probably not aces or jacks because I have an ace and a jack. But we end up going 4 ways to this flop, and we're out of position. Flop comes ace, jack 3 with 2 clubs. So a very good flop for our hand. I check it, hoping the player had ace king, but he checks it. It gets checked around to the player on the button, who is a little bit of a wild card when it comes to playing. They could have a very wide range, even for $25. They end up betting $30. I decided to put in a small raise and made it 85. My thoughts are, if he has a ace, I want him to be calling with it, and if he has a flush draw, he's going to be coming along anyway. So anyway, he puts in the call, and we got 284, and we're heading to a turn card looking for a blank, and instead we get a 6 of clubs. Yeah, that's not a good card. I ended up checking this. I'm thinking that he probably has a flush, is very likely in his range, but he checks it back. Now he's sneaky enough to be checking good hands, and so when the 4 diamonds comes on the river, I could either do a blocker bet or I can check it to him. I decided to check it to him. I was thinking hopefully he would bet large and I would fold, and he bet 145. Now, I was doing the math at the table, and it comes out that if there's a 25% chance that he does not have top 2 beat, it's definitely worth a call. And he is a little bit of a wild card. He can show up with a lot of different type of hands, and he's strong enough to see that I'm fearful of the flush, and he might try to bluff me. So I thought there was a chance that there was, I thought there was a small chance he was bluffing. 25%, it was close. I thought probably 20%. So in hindsight, this is probably a bad call, but that's what I ended up doing. I'm not extremely proud of it because his most likely holding is a flush. But you can see how long and hard I thought about this before I put the chips in, because I really felt I was stepping in it. But if I didn't call him, I would be very exploitable later on, because people know that you're folding a big hand, and they're going to try to bluff you in spots where you're supposed to call anyway. So after a long, long debate with myself, I decided to put in the call. Now, the reason I didn't edit this is because I wanted you to see how tortured I was about this. And I slammed the chips down. He says he has it, shows the queen seven of clubs. I feel like a fool, and he takes my money. About 15 minutes later, the same player puts on a live six straddle. Player limps in front of me. I look at ace queen. I make it 25. Pretty good hand to go ahead and raise, especially against a straddler. It's folded back around to the straddler, and he makes it $75. Now, it's kind of a small sizing, and I think he wants action, and I really think he has a very strong hand. The player in between us ends up folding, and here I'm thinking about, should I call or should I fold? I'm not thinking about raising. I feel they have a very strong hand, and the fact that it's only $50 more makes me want to put in the call. So we're headed off to the flop with 160 in, and I'm going to be very cautious on this flop unless I really smash it. Flop comes queen, queen, seven with two hearts, and I do have the ace of hearts, so I smashed it, yeah. He checks quickly, and now I'm deciding, well, let's just figure out how to get all the money in. I decided to bet $50. He makes the very quick call. We get to see a turn card, which is a deuce of hearts. He checks again very quickly. I take a peek, make sure I have the ace of hearts and nothing's changed. And now I'm trying to figure out sizing that he might call. I did notice that he was peeking at his cards also to see whether he had a heart. I'm beginning to think he has like pocket kings with a king of hearts, maybe pocket jacks. He could still possibly have pocket aces here. Anyway, he does make the call, and we're going to go see a river card. And this pot is really starting to grow. It's up to $520. And the river card is kind of a blank. It's a jack of diamonds. He checks again. And I thought, well, if you have pocket jacks, good for you. I'm going to jam all in. He doesn't think too long and says, I can't fold for that. And he puts in the call. And I do show the ace queen. He does flash that he had pocket kings. There were two limpers in front of me, and I decided to limp with jack eight suited. I don't know if I like this play. I think it's more of a raise or fold situation. Anyway, the small blind completes, and then the big blind raises to $20. The other players call. I can't go anywhere. I call. So we're going to go four ways to this flop with 84 in. And the flop comes 10-7-5 with two spades. So I flop a flush draw with a gutter. A pretty good flop for me. First player checks. The initial raiser leads out for $40. He could have an overpair. He could have a bigger flush draw. I decided just to call. This might be a mistake. I think if I raise, I would really put pressure on his ace, king, ace, queen type of hands, and I have enough equity to go with it. Turn card comes as a 10 of clubs. Both players end up checking. I figure this is a good spot to, represent a 10. So I bet out for $100, which is half pot. And it's back on the small blind, and I can tell that he's interested, and he does end up making the call. And when he does, I just really think he has a 10 here all day long. The other player, the initial raiser, ends up folding his hand. He probably had ace, king, ace, queen type of hand. River card comes as a two of diamonds. The player checks over to me. The only way to win this is to fire, and to fire really big. But I don't think he's going to be folding. So I check it back. He rolls over that he had the 10-9. So if I caught the 9, he would have made a full house, and I would have made a straight, and he would have stacked me. I'm in the small blind with king 10 suited. There was a $9 straddle, and two people called. I decided to raise to 50, just trying to take down those blinds. Anyway, I get a caller from the action player in the cutoff seat. He's been calling me fairly light, trying to, make a hand against me. Flop comes out, ace, jack, jack with 2 hearts. So I flop a royal draw. I got 80% of it. I decided to do a standard c-bet for $40. He quickly mucks before I even have a chance to put the chips in the pot. The first day I only played for 2 hours, ended up winning $365. On the second day I played for 4 hours, got some interesting spots, and won $200. Anyway, I really do appreciate you guys watching. I promise the sessions will be longer in the future. I just had a lot of things going on in my life this week and didn't have that much time to devote to playing poker. Anyway, really do appreciate your support, and until next time, good luck at the tables.